The vibration of the sent notification felt like a physical sting against my thumb. It was done. The screen of my phone was slick with the condensation of my own tears and the humid air of a rainy Seoul night. I didn't look at the contact name. I didn't verify the string of digits I had typed with trembling fingers. I just stared at the message I had poured my shattered soul into. "Sweetheart, I'm lonely. Come home tonight and show me you still want me. I'm waiting in the dark." I let the phone drop onto my tangled bedsheets, burying my face in my hands as the neon magenta glare of the city bled through my thin curtains. I thought I was reaching out to the man who had just broken my heart. I thought I was begging a coward for one last night of warmth. I had no idea that I had just invited a monster into my bed. 3 miles away, at the summit of a glass and steel fortress that pierced the storm clouds, the most feared man in Asia sat in a throne of shadows. Raphael Russo didn't move as his private phone, a number known only to ghosts and gods, hummed against a desk of polished obsidian. He picked it up with a hand that still bore the faint, metallic scent of a recent interrogation. He was the Ice King of the underground, a man who viewed human emotion as a terminal weakness and mercy as a myth. But as his eyes traced those raw, steamy, desperate words, the silence of his ultra-luxurious penthouse began to feel hollow. He didn't know who Mildred Brooks was. He didn't know she was a woman drowning in a foreign city, exhausted and beautiful in her grief. But as the thunder rolled across the Han River, shaking the very foundations of his empire, Raphael felt a primitive, dangerous spark ignite behind his ribs. He didn't track the number to delete the evidence. He tracked it because, for the first time in 30 years, he wanted to be the man a woman waited for in the dark. By the time the next lightning strike illuminated his cold, devastatingly handsome face, the hunt had already begun. This wasn't just a wrong number. It was a death sentence for my loneliness and the beginning of a beautiful, terrifying obsession. Will Raphael hunt her down, or will he play along? Subscribe to timeless Mafia romance to see what happens when the King of Seoul answers back. The delivered checkmark appeared on my screen, and for a fleeting second I felt a rush of relief. It was out there. The truth of my loneliness was no longer just mine to carry. I set the phone face down, unwilling to see if my ex would respond with a cruel silence or a half-hearted apology. I walked to my small kitchenette, the linoleum cold beneath my feet, and started the kettle. The whistle of the steam sounded like a scream I was too tired to let out. I was Mildred Brooks, a woman who had come to Korea for love and stayed out of a stubborn, exhausting pride. Now, I was just a ghost in a city of 10 million. In the Russo penthouse, the atmosphere was lethal. 3 men knelt on the floor, their breathing shallow and jagged. Raphael Russo didn't look at them. He was staring at his phone. The message, "Sweetheart, I miss you. Please come home," glowed like an ember in the dark. His second in command, a man named Jiro, cleared his throat. "Sir, the chairman is waiting for your decision on the harbor dispute." Raphael didn't move. His thumb hovered over the screen. The word sweetheart felt like a foreign language, a relic from a life he'd never lived. Nobody spoke to him with such raw, unshielded vulnerability. It was a mistake, it had to be. His private number was a ghost, known only to the elite and the damned. Yet here it was, a plea for home. "Sir," Jiro repeated, his voice tight with confusion. Raphael finally looked up, his eyes 2 chips of frozen flint. "Clear the room," he said, his voice a low, melodic rasp that made the air turn heavy. "And find out who owns this number. I want a name, a location, and a life story by dawn." Back in my apartment, I poured my tea, unaware that the gears of an empire were turning because of a typo. My phone buzzed. My heart leaped into my throat. Was it him? I grabbed the device, but the number was different. It wasn't my ex. The reply was short, typed with a cold, terrifying precision. "You have the wrong number, but you sound like you're drowning. Don't apologize, just breathe." I dropped the mug. The porcelain shattered, hot tea splashing my ankles. How did a stranger know I was drowning? I looked at the dark window, suddenly feeling like the city wasn't just big, it was watching. What would you do if one wrong text message connected you to the most feared mafia boss in Seoul? Watch till the end, because this love story only gets more dangerous from here. Fear is a slow poison. It starts in the stomach and works its way to the throat. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind against the glass felt like a footstep. I had blocked the number, but the words "don't apologize, just breathe" looped in my head. Who was this man? The next morning, I tried to disappear into my work. I went to the National Library, burying myself in architectural research. But even there, I felt a prickle on the back of my neck. When I left at dusk, the rain had returned, turning the streets into a slick, black mirror. A black luxury sedan was idling at the curb. The door opened, and a man in a charcoal suit stepped out. "Miss Brooks," he said, bowing slightly. "Mr. Russell would like to apologize for the intrusion. He has sent me to ensure you reach home safely." "I don't know a Mr. Russell," I said, my voice steady despite the hammer in my chest. "He is the gentleman you messaged last night," the man replied. He held out a small, velvet box. "He noticed you broke your favorite mug through your social media history. He thought you might like a replacement." I opened the box. Inside was a hand-painted ceramic cup, identical to the one I'd broken, but lined with real gold. My breath hitched. He wasn't just watching, he was reconstructing my life. I realized then that running was useless. If a man like this wanted to find me, he already had. I got into the car. The interior smelled of expensive leather and something metallic, like the air before a lightning strike. We drove toward the Lot World Tower, the spire piercing the clouds. We stopped at a private entrance. When the elevator opened into the penthouse, I saw him. Raphael Russo was standing by a floor-to-ceiling window. He was devastatingly handsome, with a jawline that could cut glass and eyes that looked like they had seen the end of the world. He didn't turn around. "You shouldn't send such messages to strangers, Mildred," he said, his voice a low vibration. "Some men would take advantage of that kind of loneliness." "And what are you doing?" I asked, my voice echoing in the vast marble hall. He turned slowly. His gaze swept over me, lingering on my eyes. "I am deciding," he whispered, stepping into my space until I could smell his sandalwood cologne, "if I am one of those men." The penthouse was a graveyard of beautiful things. Raphael didn't sit, he hovered. He watched me as I looked at the gold-lined cup he'd sent, his gaze so intense it felt like a physical touch. He didn't ask me why I was lonely. He didn't ask about the ex-boyfriend. He just watched the way my pulse jumped in the hollow of my neck. "Why me?" I whispered, clutching my coat around me. I know who you are now. I've seen the news. You're the Ice King of the Russo Syndicate. You don't help people like me." "I don't help anyone," he said, pouring 2 fingers of amber liquid into a crystal glass. He didn't offer me any. "But your message disturbed the peace of my house. I don't like being disturbed." "Then let me go. I'll change my number. You'll never hear from me again." Raphael stepped closer, his movements fluid and predatory. He reached out, his hand hovering near my face. I flinched, but he didn't strike. He tucked a stray lock of hair behind my ear, his fingers brushing the skin. I gasped. His hand was cold, but the contact felt like a spark. "It's too late for that," he murmured. My enemies monitored that line. They saw a woman reaching out to the most feared man in Seoul with a heart full of fire. "They think you are my weakness, Mildred. If I let you walk out that door, you won't make it to the end of the block." The weight of his words hit me like a physical blow. I wasn't just a girl who made a mistake. I was now a target in a war I didn't understand. I looked into his eyes, searching for a lie, but all I saw was a terrifying, hollow truth. "So I'm a prisoner." "You are a guest," he corrected, his voice dropping to a low, dangerous silk. "Until I kill the people who want to use you to get to me. Then you can go back to your lonely little life." He turned to leave, but he stopped at the door. "One more thing, Mildred. Don't look for the silver coin you found in your coat pocket. It doesn't belong to you." I reached into my pocket. My fingers brushed a heavy, cold metal disc. I hadn't put it there. Someone had slipped it in while I was in the library. My stomach turned. Raphael wasn't just protecting me. He was playing a game. The first few days in the penthouse were a blur of luxury and terror. I had a room that was larger than my entire apartment, filled with silks and velvet, but the door didn't lock from the inside. Raphael was a ghost. I would hear his footsteps late at night, slow, deliberate, rhythmic, passing my door but never stopping. I tried to keep my routine, opening my laptop to work, but the internet was restricted. I was cut off. On the third night, the silence became too much. I wandered out into the main living area. The lights were dimmed, the only glow coming from the aquarium that stretched across one wall. Raphael was there, sitting on the floor, not the furniture, the floor, staring at the fish. He looked stripped of his power, his shirt unbuttoned at the collar. He looked human. "They don't have a choice," he said, his voice startling me. He didn't look up. "The fish, they live in a perfect world, but they can never leave the glass. Do you pity them, Mildred?" I walked closer, sitting on the edge of a sofa a safe distance away. "I think everyone lives in a glass box, Raphael. Some are just more expensive than others." He looked at me then, and for a second the coldness in his eyes flickered. It wasn't softness, but it was a recognition. "You speak like someone who has been broken many times." "And you speak like someone who has never been touched," I countered. The air between us grew thick. He stood up, walking toward me with a slow, agonizing grace. He stopped just inches away. I could feel the heat of his body. He leaned down, his face so close I could see the tiny flecks of gold in his irises. "Touch is a liability," he whispered. "It creates a bridge, and bridges allow people to cross over and burn what's inside." He reached out, his thumb tracing the line of my lower lip. My breath hitched. I should have pulled away, but I was starved for a connection. Just as his fingers dipped into the heat of my mouth, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, followed by a muffled shout. Raphael was gone in a second, his hand reaching for the holster at his back. "Stay here," he barked, his face returning to stone. "And don't make a sound." This wasn't supposed to be love. It was supposed to be a mistake. But sometimes the wrong number leads to the right person if danger doesn't destroy them first. Comment below, should Mildred run or stay? The sound of gunfire is different in person. It's a sharp, metallic crack that vibrates in your teeth. I huddled behind the sofa, my hands over my ears. The penthouse, my gilded cage, was under siege. Minutes felt like hours. Then the heavy doors of the living room swung open. Raphael stumbled in. His white shirt was stained a deep, angry crimson. He wasn't walking, he was dragging his left leg. "Raphael!" I ran to him, catching him before he hit the marble. He was heavy, a dead weight of muscle and hidden pain. "Get to the safe room," he wheezed, his face pale as ash. "Juro is compromised." "I'm not leaving you," I said, my voice surprising me with its strength. I helped him onto the sofa, my hands instantly becoming slick with his blood. I had studied architecture, not medicine, but I knew a gut wound when I saw one. I ripped my silk robe into strips, pressing down on the wound. Raphael let out a low, guttural groan, his hand flying up to catch my wrist. His grip was weak, trembling. "Why?" he hissed through clenched teeth. "You should let me die, you'd be free." "I don't want freedom at the cost of a life," I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. "Now shut up and hold this." As I worked, the adrenaline washed away my fear. I looked at him, really looked at him. The Ice King was shivering. I pressed my forehead against his, trying to share my warmth. "Stay with me, Raphael, stay with me." He looked up at me, his gaze hazy. "Mildred, the text, I wanted to come home, I just didn't know where it was." His eyes closed. My heart stopped. Just then, the elevator chimed. I looked up, expecting a hitman. Instead, it was the man from the library, the one who had given me the cup. But he wasn't alone. He was holding the silver coin I'd found in my pocket. "You did well, Mildred," the man said, a chilling smile on his face. "Now give us the key he hid inside you." "The key inside me," I whispered, my voice trembling. I looked down at Raphael's unconscious body, then back at the man. "I don't know what you're talking about, I'm just a researcher." The man stepped forward, the silver coin dancing between his knuckles. "Raphael Russo doesn't do anything by accident, Mildred. That text, he intercepted it before it even hit the tower. He chose you. He planted that coin in your pocket to see if you'd lead us to his private server. And the cup, the gold lining is a biological transmitter. By drinking from it, you've become the vault for his digital ledger. My stomach turned. I looked at the cup sitting on the side table. Every sip I'd taken was a betrayal. I wasn't his guest, I was his hardware. He lied to me, I breathed, the heartbreak sharper than the fear. He's a mafia boss, dear. What did you expect? Romance? The man raised a silenced pistol. But the ledger is encrypted to your heartbeat. If your heart stops, the data vanishes, so I won't kill you, I'll just take you. Suddenly, a hand gripped my ankle. Raphael. His eyes were open, bloodshot, and terrifying. With a roar of pure, agonizing effort, he threw a glass decanter at the man's head. The glass shattered, and in the confusion, Raphael pulled a hidden lever under the sofa. The floor beneath us gave way. We slid down a dark chute, dumping us into a cold, concrete basement. It was a secondary safe house. Raphael was gasping, his wound reopened. He's lying, Raphael wheezed, grabbing my hand. The cup was just a cup. I didn't want the ledger, I wanted you. Then why the coin? I cried, my heart breaking. Why the monitoring? Raphael pulled me close, his breath smelling of copper and pain. To protect you from them. The coin is a tracker. If I died, it would lead my loyalists to you to keep you safe. Not for a key, for you. He slumped back against the concrete. I looked at him, caught between the lie and the love. I didn't know who to trust, but as I heard footsteps pounding above us, I knew one thing. I was the only thing keeping the Ice King alive. The safe house was cold, smelling of damp earth. Raphael was slipping in and out. I had to save us. I found a medical kit in a wall locker, my hands shaking as I injected him with an anesthetic and began to stitch the wound. You're a messy doctor, Raphael murmured, a ghost of a smirk on his lips. You're a difficult patient, I snapped, though my eyes were wet. Why didn't you tell me? Why keep me in the dark? Because the dark is where I live, Mildred. I didn't want to pull you into the shadows, but the shadows found you anyway. He reached out, his hand covering mine. The man you saw, he was my brother, Philip. He was exiled years ago. He wants the throne. He said you chose me, that the text wasn't an accident. Raphael looked away. The text was an accident, but my response, that was a choice. I saw your picture. I saw a woman who looked like she was carrying the weight of the world. I wanted to see if someone like that could ever look at a man like me without fear. I was never afraid of you, Raphael, I whispered. I was afraid of how you made me feel. The tension in the room shifted. It wasn't about the Mafia anymore. It was about two people trapped in a basement. Raphael pulled me down until I was lying next to him on the cold floor. He didn't say anything. He just held me, his heartbeat steady against my ear. If we make it out of this, he whispered into my hair, I'm taking you home, a real home. But as he spoke, the sound of a drill grinding through the steel door of the basement echoed. They had found us. The door burst open in a shower of sparks. Philip stepped through, followed by 3 men with rifles. Raphael tried to stand, but his legs gave out. I stood in front of him, my arms spread wide. Move, girl, Philip sneered. I'm not moving, I said, my voice echoing with a strength I didn't know I possessed. If you want him, you go through me. Philip laughed. You really love him, don't you? The man who uses women like currency. Do you know why he was exiled, Mildred? Do you know what he did to our mother? He's lying, Mildred, Raphael barked, coughing up blood. He killed her to take the lead, Philip said, his eyes narrowing. He's a monster, he doesn't feel human. He's just playing you. I looked back at Raphael. He looked devastated. I looked at Philip, who looked like a man possessed by greed. I realized then that the truth didn't matter. What mattered was the man who had protected me when he had nothing to gain. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the silver coin. You want the key? Here it is. I threw the coin at Philip's feet. As he instinctively looked down, I grabbed a heavy fire extinguisher from the wall and slammed the nozzle down, releasing a blinding cloud of white chemicals. Run, I screamed, grabbing Raphael's arm. We scrambled through a hidden ventilation shaft. We were crawling through the dark, the sound of Philip's enraged shouts fading. My lungs burned, but I didn't stop. We emerged into an alleyway blocks away. A car was waiting. Jiro was at the wheel, his face bruised. "Get in," Jiro yelled. As we sped away, I looked at Raphael. He was staring at his wrist. "My mother died that day," he whispered. "But I didn't kill her. I tried to save her from Philip. He's the one who burned the house down." If you stayed until this moment, you truly felt every emotion in this story. Thank you for experiencing Raphael and Mildred's journey with me. Your time and support keep these cinematic stories alive. Please do well to subscribe now and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We didn't go back to the penthouse. We went to a small house by the sea, hours away from Seoul. For 2 days, I nursed Raphael. The air was salty and clean. Raphael was different here. He walked on the beach with me, his hand constantly seeking mine. We didn't talk about the Mafia. We talked about my research, about the churches in Italy he remembered as a child. "I can't go back, Mildred," he said one evening. "If I go back, I have to be the monster again. Philip is still out there. The council is waiting for a head." "Then don't go back," I said. "We can leave. We have the passports Jiro brought." "They'll never stop hunting us," he said, his voice heavy with a tragic certainty. "Unless they think I'm dead." He looked at me, a strange light in his eyes. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small glass vial. "This is a paralytic. It mimics death for 6 hours. If Philip thinks I'm dead, he'll take the throne and the council will be satisfied. Jiro will take me to the morgue and then we disappear." "It's too dangerous, Raphael. What if you don't wake up?" "I'll wake up," he said, cupping my face. "Because your voice will be the first thing I want to hear." He drank the vial before I could stop him. Within minutes, his pulse slowed to a crawl. His skin turned cold. I screamed for Jiro, who appeared from the shadows, his face grim. "We have to move, Miss Brooks. Philip is 10 minutes away." We loaded Raphael's body into a black van just as a fleet of cars appeared. I sat in the back, holding his cold hand, whispering the words of the text over and over again. "Sweetheart, I miss you. Please come home." A year later. The sun was setting over the coast of Italy, painting the Mediterranean in shades of gold and violet. I sat on the terrace of our small villa, the smell of jasmine thick in the air. I had finally opened my gallery, a small, sun-drenched space in the village where I showcased local artists. My life was quiet. It was simple. Raphael came out onto the terrace, carrying 2 glasses of wine. He looked younger now. The hardness in his jaw had softened, and the flint in his eyes had turned to a deep, warm amber. He sat down beside me, pulling me into the crook of his arm. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, kissing the top of my head. "I was thinking about that night," I said, looking at the phone sitting on the table. "About the text, about how close I came to never hitting send." Raphael picked up the phone. "It was the most violent, chaotic, and destructive mistake of my life," he said softly. "And I would do it all over again every single day if it meant I ended up here with you." I took the phone from him and opened a new message. I typed in a number, his new number, the one only I had. "Sweetheart, I'm home." He felt the vibration in his pocket and pulled out his phone, reading the message with a smirk. He looked at me, his eyes full of a peace I never thought possible for a man like him. "I know," he whispered, leaning in to press his forehead against mine. "I've been waiting for you my whole life." The world still has its shadows. There are still dangerous men and cold cities. But as I leaned into Raphael, watching the stars begin to poke through the velvet sky, I realized that some mistakes aren't mistakes at all. They're just the universe's way of rerouting you to the place you were always meant to be. I didn't miss my ex anymore. I didn't miss the girl I used to be. I was home. And for the first time, the message had reached exactly the right person. And just like that, one wrong text message changed 2 lonely lives forever. If Raphael and Mildred's story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who still believes love can find us in the darkest places.